He starred in Broadway hits like Waitress and Spring Awakening, and he's now starring alongside Sean Hayes in Goodnight, Oscar. But it doesn't just stop on the stage, as he can be seen in some of your favorite shows on TV and jumping into the director and writer chair for the featured film Summoning Sylvia. Joining us now is Alex Wyse. Alex, thanks so much for joining us here on Live in the Bay.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really cool to talk to you.
It's so awesome to talk to you and about all of your accomplishments. And let's first start. You star as Max Weinbaum in the Broadway production of Goodnight, Oscar alongside Sean Hayes. Tell me about that production and just what it was like working alongside Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're right in the midst of it right now, and today Sean got a Tony nomination, and the show's nominated for 3 Tonys total. I'm so happy for Sean. He's the most unbelievable person in the world. In brief, the show is about Oscar Levant, who was a figure in the 30s, 40s, and 50s who would go on these late night talk shows and say such controversial things and really set the networks on fire, so to speak. And so this play is about that happening in the 50s on The Tonight Show. And Sean gives one of the most remarkable performances, and I'm just so excited that I get to be opposite him. It's my dream come true, really.
Oh, that's amazing. And congrats to the entire crew, especially with Sean when it comes to the 3 Tonys. That is incredibly exciting. And that's not the only thing you've done on Broadway. Your career has just been amazing so far. You've worked on Waitress, Spring Awakening, Wicked. What is it like just being in that Broadway world?
Well, it's really special because, I mean, Broadway for me was a place that I always look to as this is the pinnacle. This is where I want to be. I want to be with these people who are expressive, overly theatrical, excitable, just like I am. And I thought, oh, that's my tribe. And so the fact that I've gotten to be a part of this community is it means an enormous deal to me. And especially with Goodnight, Oscar, I can't stress enough how wonderful every person in that show is. And that tone is set by Sean Hayes, who is the greatest leader I have ever worked with, and who's so funny and so warm and is all about collaboration and play and creating this family. So I'm just so happy we've done that together.
Well, it does sound like it really is a family, a tight-knit group that you've been working with, which is so amazing. You always want to have that bond and connection. But, you know, specifically, I would also like to talk about your performance at the 70th Annual Tony Awards with the Spring Awakening cast. What was that moment like for you?
That was so cool because I'm such a geek. I'm such a Broadway geek, and I've been watching the Tony Awards since I was a kid, and I really couldn't believe that I got to be there. I remember right before we started, our director Michael Arden of Spring Awakening, who also is nominated today for Parade, another wonderful show which you should check out if you're in New York. But Michael said to us, everybody make sure you take a snapshot of that moment because this is such a fast and fleeting moment in your life, and it's so important that you look around and take that in. And so I did my very best to do that because that was a 3-minute moment in my life that lives on forever.
I think it should. I think that's a moment that should always live on in your life. That is a very special moment. So congrats on that one for sure, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course. Now I'd like to talk about your work behind the camera. You co-wrote and co-directed the feature film Summoning Sylvia. What's the difference for you being behind the camera and then in front of it? And what was it like working on this project?
Well, I really love being creative when no one cares what I look like, and I can just like wear a really, garbage sweatshirt and still have my full creative capacity at play and work. So I wrote and directed this movie with my creative partner, Wesley Taylor, and this is a horror comedy, much more comedy, about a queer bachelor party that does a seance. And it's all about the collision of hauntings and homophobia, and it is wickedly funny. It's with Frankie Grande and Michael Urie and so many wonderful talents. And I loved writing that and directing that because I got to exercise every part of my creative being. And that was really just a very involved, challenging, but really beautiful experience to get to see my brain and heart's work come to life on the screen.
And I can imagine it's probably just so different than being an actor, right? And being in front of that camera. What are the differences for you?
Yeah, you know, for me, it also feels kind of the same. It feels like I'm still expressing something. It's just a different, it's just a different part of my body, for instance. Like instead of running, I'm typing. I don't know. I'm, it's there's something about it that still feels like it's coming from that same impulse of I have a story to tell and I'm going to try to tell it. One of them involves, putting myself front and center and opening up my heart, and the other one involves doing my best to communicate to many different very talented people and departments whom I was really lucky to work with, what that collective vision is, so we can all execute this thing together and be on the same page and make something together. So I think there's a lot more delegation and there's a lot more managing of personalities, but I think it still comes from that same spark on the inside that says, I have a story to tell. And I really hope you check out Summoning Sylvia. You can rent it anywhere. It's on iTunes, it's on Amazon Prime, Vudu, all the places you can rent. It's so funny.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to have to check it out. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Alex. Any other work that you have out there or anything you have maybe people looking forward to that they can check out?
Looking forward, well, Wesley and I are getting to work on making our next film, so that is to come. But until then, you can check out the cast album of Regina Comet, which is a musical I wrote that was off Broadway a couple of years ago. You can check out Wes and my previous work, which is a series called Indoor Boys that we created. And, I'm just going a day at a time and trying to spread the good arts as best I can.
Well, you're definitely doing it. So congrats to you. Congrats to the entire team, especially for those 3 Tony nominations. That is just absolutely incredible, an amazing feat. And thank you so much for your time here on Live in the Bay, Alex. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And yes, go Sean Hayes. Yes.
Go Sean Hayes. We're gonna be voting for him. We're gonna be really cheering him on.
Me too.
Thanks, Alex.